Akeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
Since July 13th, 2017, the project has stalled without solution in sight.
House of Representatives investigates the non-takeoff of e-custom projects just as it worries over the problem of arms smuggling.
The last budget, we really have some issues.
And House Committee on Appropriation tasked on producing a final 2022 budget devoid of anomalies. A warm welcome to House Ticket as we educate you on the workings of the House of Representatives sitting in the nation's capital, Abuja. The lawmakers passed the 2022 budget as second reading Thursday the 14th of October 2021 after they debated the monetary components of the document. With the passage, the House adjourned plenary sitting for 3 weeks to work on the budget at the committee level, where agencies and parastatals of government will be engaged in the budget defense exercise. On this episode of House Ticket, we'll review the debate on the budget at plenary plus other legislations worked upon in the week spanning 12th to 14th October 2021. This will be amongst other activities outside the Green Chamber. Stay tuned.
If we set our minds right, embrace each other in love and brotherhood, we will come through these troubling times. We will survive, we will recover, and then we will thrive. One nation under God, free, peaceful, and prosperous.
Thanks for staying tuned. Lawmakers during the debate on the 2022 budget described it as timely, lauding the sustained collaboration of the legislature and executive in that regard. Some others said the budget reflects the Nigerian current situation in view of the global index of the economy and will bring prosperity. There are concerns raised as well. Let us get all of this and more as we highlight events at plenary on our first segment of the program. The report is compiled and presented from the studios.
Debates on the appropriation bill took 2 days as lawmakers critically analyzed the provisions of the budget. The House leader led the debate.
16.349 trillion. I believe this was the highest figure we have ever had in the course of our engagement on a money bill. Especially the COVID-19 issue, we need a lot of money to really service our health facilities, to provide for effective health care delivery for our people.
During the debate, some lawmakers spoke on the need to increase allocation to certain sectors, reduction of deficit, quarterly review of performance indicators, strengthening of the power sector, especially the transmission aspect, amongst others, were also raised.
We passed a resolution urging our standing committees to be up and doing by going to find out which projects that have not been implemented or that have not been kick-started, to enable us know what to do in the estimates that had been presented to us. So we should now look at how to strengthen this transmission sector of the economy so that when power is generated, that transmission should be able to evacuate it for the betterment of our people so that there can be stable electricity.
If we review the budget performance quarterly, so we might be able to get the MDAs to respond more. That's the point I'm making. When they respond more, the budget will be implemented in line with our expectations. Maybe the Joint Committee of Finance and maybe PAC can review it. So in so doing, we put the feet of the MDAs to fire. When they have done well, we'll compliment them to carry it over. When they haven't done well, we'll also expose it.
The sum of 3.9 trillion for debt servicing, which represents almost 25% of the total budget. Mr. Speaker, this is worrisome. This raises some issues or some concern, I believe that federal government will be able to look at it and think out with it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another source of concern is that the proposal before us has a deficit of 6.2 trillion, and government is proposing new borrowings to finance this deficit. Mr. Speaker, what this implies is that the total public debt of Nigeria is expected to rise to 5 trillion in 2022 fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, this is worrisome. So let us do whatsoever we can to try to see how we can reduce the deficit and how we can reduce borrowing.
This is a budget of development.
On the capital component of the budget, there were calls for improved budgetary provisions to the Ministry of Works, the need to arrest duplication of items in the budget, as well as effective oversight of ministries and agencies.
This House, in responding to need to address issues regarding infrastructure, passed the road fund bill. It is noteworthy that in spirit, the executive is in alliance with that, but there has to be a legislative framework for implementation. Those bills will, to a great extent, help the budget, the capital commitments we have to make in the budget.
You would see rehabilitation of, say, National Assembly Road, and then you will see another one, construction of National Assembly Road. The rehabilitation will cost about 40% of the sums for the construction. Mr. Speaker, are we fooling ourselves? Why do you have to budget something for rehabilitation when there's something for reconstruction of the same road? Why don't you channel that funds for rehabilitation into the reconstruction?
Releases and implementation, and we need to look critically at the MDAs, and that's going to be very, very important. And we need to use this budget and to measure them against whether they've been able to perform in the last budget or not.
The presidency was also commended for funds releases to implement projects, among other performance indicators.
I want to commend the executive arm of government for the robust implementation of the budget, to the extent that some components of the budget are today funded 100%, while the least funded is about 70–80%. This is highly commendable, having regard to our history of budget implementation in this country.
This government will be remembered for budget implementation and releases. My constituents will attest that the roads I included in budget in 2007, 2008, 2011, 2015 was only implemented by 9th Assembly and by the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The country's oil revenue, declined majorly due to deductions by the NNPC in recovering the cost of importation and distribution of imported petrol. I believe that this has been a cause of concern to most Nigerians, and we should scrutinize the deduction being made by NNPC to avoid revenue leakages.
At the end of the 2 days allotted to the debate on the budget, it scaled second reading. This was on Thursday, the 14th of October, 2021.
Emphasis has been mentioned over and over regarding oversight. And I want to believe, as we are breaking for 2 weeks, we should use the opportunity to utilize that window to carry out our oversight efficiently and effectively. The question now, the bill bears the content. Those in favor say aye. Against say nay. That's have it.
Away from the 2022 budget, the House at second reading took 2 bills seeking the establishment of regional development commissions. Lawmaker Simon Wadwork sponsored the bill, seeking for the establishment of the North Central Development Commission, which will be charged with the responsibility, amongst other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states and for related matters. The second bill seeks to establish the Northwest Development Commission. The Northwest Commission will also receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account, including international donations for the settlement, reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, business premises destroyed by multinational crises, as well as tackling the menace of poverty, literacy level, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Northwest states and for related matters. Lawmaker Aminu Suleiman and 78 others sponsored the bill. Representative Abubakar Fulata presented the bill on behalf of the 77 co-sponsors. The bills have been referred to the Committee of the Whole House for further legislative work.
Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Still on bills, several were passed at third reading, including the following bills. A bill for an act to establish the Southwest Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, amongst others, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account, including donations and gifts, the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region. The Southwest Commission, when established, will tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the southwestern states and for related matters. A bill for an act to establish the National Agricultural Development Fund for agricultural development and for related matters, and a bill for an act to provide special financial support, training, and modern security equipment for the revamping of the Nigerian Armed Forces and for related matters.
Speaker, my honorable colleague.
Moving on to motions for the week, a summary of the resolutions of the House through various motions adopted include calls for the urgent need to resolve the debacle between the Central Bank of Nigeria's Technical Committee on Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme and the Nigerian Customs Service over its takeoff of the e-custom modernization project. This was on Thursday, the 14th of October, 2021.
Concerned that the level of engagement had reached the turning point whereby Adani Mega System had procured all necessary equipment to commence the e-custom project as provided for in contract, but since July 13th, 2017, the project has stalled without solution in sight, further causing tremendous revenue loss to the federal government. Worried that dispute between these two parties is at such a time of alarming rate of entry of undetected arms and ammunition into the country, ports and border stations as a result of no functional scanners.
The motion prayed for the House to mandate its Standing Committee on Customs and Excise, Finance and Banking and Currency to invite the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Chairman, Technical Committee on Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme, Minister of Finance, Controller General of Customs, and the contractor handling the project in order to resolve the matter for the takeoff of the project. The Joint Committee is to report back to the House in 4 weeks.
Ayes have it. Clerk, please make sure you generate a letter conveying the resolution of the House.
And on Tuesday, the 12th of October 2021, from the order paper, the House resolved to launch an investigation into the encroachment and illegal structures on federal government infrastructure in Nigeria, as well as those properties illegally acquired by the government from citizens or organizations.
Critical infrastructure of government such as educational institutions, airports, railway, terminals, and tracks, as well as pipelines, training farms, and sundry economic tree plantations are encroached and illegally occupied by individuals and corporate organizations, and quick notices have been issued to the illegal settlers over the years, and this has not been obeyed up to today.
By way of resolution on the motion, the ad hoc committee of the House investigating abandoned federal government properties across the country has been given the additional mandate by the adoption of this motion to provide a compendium of all illegally encroached federal government abandoned properties across the nation and overseas, and provide an interim report on the previous work investigating abandoned government properties across the nation. The ad hoc committee is to also investigate the forceful acquisition of all federal government properties by individuals and corporate organizations across the country and overseas. The committee is to equally investigate all illegally acquired properties and land by government agencies from individuals and corporate organizations and allow them to get justice. The report is expected back in the House in 6 weeks for further legislative action.
Ayes have it.
If you just joined us, you're on to House Ticket, your windows into the workings of the House of Representatives. We took a summary of plenary activities just before the break, where the 2022 budget scaled second reading and has been committed to the Appropriation Committee for more legislative input. On events outside plenary, we'll take the activities of the Speaker in recent times, where he opened a capacity building workshop organized for the Media Corps or House of Representatives. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila called for developed and professional journalism in Nigeria, just as he lauded the initiative for the training and retraining of journalists. He was represented by the Deputy Chief Whip of the House in Kirika Onyejocha.
The media in itself is an integral part of our democracy. In fact, as we all know, it is often referred to as the fourth estate of the realm. This is how important and relevant the media is to us. So anything that has to do with the media should be given the seriousness that it deserves by all lovers of democracy. I believe it is in recognition of this fact that this workshop was put together.
The capacity building workshop, which lasted 2 days, 11th and 12th October 2021, discussed various topics such as understanding powers of Nigeria, legislature and the role of media in promoting rule of law, legislative practice and procedure and media reporting, the legislature and media relations, code of ethics for journalists, strategies for effective working relationship with legislators. Others included developing a communication strategy for the Nigerian legislature and the role of the media in a democracy, promoting responsible reporting.
Another area of concern is that of remuneration and welfare of journalists.
You should apply yourself to scholarship, carry out research.
The training workshop for the House of Representatives press corps was facilitated and organized by the National Assembly Management, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, the Premium Time Center for Investigative Journalism, amongst others. Back to the National Assembly premises, to the committee rooms, the House Standing Committee on Appropriation held its inaugural meeting on the 2022 budget. Lawmaker Mukhtar Ali Beitare chairs the committee, and he addressed some anomalies that had occurred during the consideration of the 2021 budget, thus preferring solutions on how to work on the 2022 budget estimates.
Committees can work within their budget. But there are certain percentages we give committees and members of those committees that will work with it, and it will not exceed what is used to be. With the issue of recurrent, specifically, we are more careful on recurrent. No money should be taken from recurrent. Or except where it becomes necessary. But they come in here to defend their budget and they justify where they needed increase for recurrent. We'll sit as a committee and look at it. If there's any other way we find monies to give them, we'll move ahead.
Subcommittees are to be constituted as well to work on the various components of the budget to achieve a perfect fiscal document.
Every guidelines will be given to the head of the subcommittees and members of that committee. But please, we have to be very, very serious and worked within the guideline. Because in the last budget, we really have some issues. And we have to sit with them and do the reconciliations. And again, when it comes to budget, especially for our legislators, where members or distinguished senators domicile their projects, we have to look at agencies within that mandate. We have a lot of corrigendums this year, which you see most budget office rejected processing. If we have project, assume now we have projects for classroom, and you are taking your classroom to Federal Ministry of Agri. It's not done. You have solar street lights. You took it to your back. They will reject it. If you are not satisfied with what the committee chairman did, when they come to defend their budget, you stand up and say it. If there's any amendment we have to do, we do it. If they exceed what we give them, we reverse it. We have to do a very clean budget.
The committees are expected to finish work on the 2022 budget for final submission on the floor of the House by 14th of December 2021, according to the timetable set by the larger House. We'll take one more committee activity, this time around a public hearing discussing national security via 4 bills on enhancing the security architecture of the country. The details in our next report.
The public hearing, organized by the House Standing Committee on National Security and Intelligence, engaged the relevant stakeholders over 4 bills titled A Bill for an Act to Establish the National Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons and for Related Matters, A Bill for an Act to Repeal the Explosives Act of 2004 and for Related Matters, A Bill for an Act to make provision for integration of private closed-circuit television (CCTV) into the National Security Network in Nigeria and for related matters, and the 4th bill titled A Bill for an Act to designate the month of November as the National Appreciation Month for Security Agencies and for related matters. The House, in opening the public hearing, emphasized that collaboration among all stakeholders is paramount, as the security, welfare and well-being of Nigerian people is paramount, just as there is need to make a safer environment free of molestation and victimization. This much was re-echoed through the Speaker's address at the event to declare it open. Stakeholders took turns to speak on the bills up for discussion among the security agencies. Speaking on the proposed Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons, the Department for State Security Service submitted that there is need to harmonize functions provided by the Firearms Act, which are of the same duties already performed by the Nigerian police. It also posited that political appointees should be exempted from holding positions in the proposed commission, just as issues of security screening should be extended to the staff of the commission in view of the sensitive nature of the work of the commission and for vetting of characters of staff of the commission. On the bill to repeal the Explosives Act, the service says it needs to be matched with that of the 1959 Firearms Act and regulations. The Nigerian Intelligence Agency (NIA) welcomed the amendments of the legislations, as it says the establishment of the National Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons, if done in line with the ECOWAS conventions, will go a long way in the promotion and coordination of concrete measures in the control of arms and light weapons. NIA also advocated for private sector participation, though the collaboration between Nigeria and local arms manufacturers, as well as need to ensure there is no restriction on laws permitting licenses of firearms by private citizens for self-defense. The Nigerian Navy insists that ECOWAS countries be compelled to make laws governing their handling of arms and ammunition, in order to achieve the aim of the Commission to fight against proliferation of small arms and light weapons, as well as serious surveillance mechanism on the proliferation of the arms. For the Nigerian Air Force, when speaking on the repeal of the Explosives Act bill, it suggests an amendment that experts in explosives from the Nigerian Air Force, police and other security agencies as well as from the civilians with training on explosives, should be made the Chief Inspector of Explosives. The Nigerian Immigration Services concurred with this suggestion. All of these are among other pertinent submissions by the stakeholders from the Nigerian Police Force, NDLEA amongst others. They all describe the four legislations as progressive. The committee is to collate all submissions of stakeholders and fine-tune the general principles of the bill for further work.
Many thanks for watching House Ticket as always. You can catch up with the program on our social media handles showing on your screen. And as Ellie mentioned, the House is on a 3-week recess to allow committees ample time to work on the 2022 budget defense exercise. House Ticket will be on ground to bring you these events in subsequent packages of the program. Until then, do stay safe.